My wife Diana is a long-legged, green-eyed blonde. I look more modest, a tall, blue-eyed, brown-haired man with a scar from a mine fragment on his left cheek and already graying temples. Memories of military service. We are 34 years old, and we have been together for 11 years. We have 2 children, Pavel and Kostya, boys aged 10 and 8. I work in a jewelry salon as an expert. I evaluate and conduct an examination of the authenticity of antique jewelry. My wife works in a beauty salon. Manicure, pedicure, haircut. She really likes her job, although she has a higher education. She graduated from a technological university with a degree in refrigeration units and equipment. She graduated, but she never worked a day. Right after university, she studied at a makeup artist course, and a friend got her a job at a salon. A sea of clients. Useful connections. Well, you know what I mean. Once a year, my children and I went to the sea. I don't like the resorts of Turkey and Egypt, which are overcrowded with dark-skinned males. That's why we went to the Baltics and the Black Sea. In terms of intimacy, everything was fine with us too. It seemed to me that my woman was happy with this sweet side of family life. Always and everywhere. That's my motto in this area. At least, my wife didn't complain about this. I boldly went along with any experiments and suggestions my wife made. All this was until recently. But then, 6 months ago, her mother got sick. Diana threw all her strength into helping her. Frequent night vigils at the bedside of her suffering mother-in-law had a negative impact on our family relationships. No, outwardly everything was the same. My wife's soft, tenderly tired sadness when she refused me intimacy. Well, you understand, I'm so exhausted at work and with my mother. Wait, darling, not now. And a soft, gentle touch to my cheek. This not now became the motto of our family life. Everything not now, from sex to rest. And Mom continued to be ill, the wife visited her more and more often. And at some point she began to spend more time with Mom than with her husband and her own children. Daughter love. This is my MOM. I am not jealous by nature. And Diana did not give me any reason to be jealous. And although we live in a big city, you can't hide an all in a sack. Sooner or later everything comes to light. But, as they say, Caesar's wife is above suspicion. If there was something, I would know. What a presumptuous idiot I was. Now I understand that betrayal is inherent in the very nature of women, that the life of most of them is subordinated to emotions and passions. Throwing themselves into this love whirlpool, they forget about everything. About my husband, about my children, about my conscience finally. Everything is a chimera, there is only me. That fateful day did not go well from the very morning. Arriving at work, I remembered that I had not turned off the light in the bathroom. Not a big deal, but I still decided to call my wife at home and ask her to check. But neither my home nor my mobile phone answered. I was about to go home, when I was connected with a client. Yuri Vitalievich, my dear. This is Nikolai Andreevich Mezentsev calling you. Could you come to me and look at one little thing? I was offered an antique platinum ring from the mid-19th century. But I have doubts about its authenticity. I will pay well for the consultation. The man who spoke had a magically enveloping baritone, which makes our gender partners swoon. Mezentsev. A familiar name. And then I remembered. A wealthy philanthropist. At home in the summer, in Spain in the winter. Owner of several newspapers and a stake in the oil business. Apparently, he decided to invest his money in antiques. Well, if you have the money, then we're coming to you. Okay, I can come by 4 o'clock. Send me your address. Excellent. Then I'll invite the seller by that time. No goodbyes. Mezentsev hung up. I dialed my wife's number again. No use. Then I called the salon. A kind girl in a sweet voice told me that Diana Sergeyevna would not be at work today, since she took 3 days off at her own expense. 2. Mezentsev's home was in an elite cottage village 30 kilometers from the city. The smell of big money wafted from his mansion a mile away. Walking along the tiled path, I pushed the heavy front door. The owner, a languid, well-groomed playboy of about 45, in a dressing gown thrown over his naked body, through the lapels of which the greying curly hair on his chest was visible, met me at the threshold. His whole appearance said that he was doing me a great favor by breathing the same air as me. "Please, Yuri Vitalievich." He pulled a welcoming smile onto his face. "Let's go to the second floor, to my office." We went up the marble stairs and found ourselves in a hall with several doors. Behind one was an office, behind the others, it seemed, were bedrooms. We did not have time to exchange. Allah, I was already getting nervous. The long beep started again and suddenly a painfully familiar melody started playing somewhere dully. At first, I didn't realize that it was my wife's phone answering. I went out into the hall. The sound was coming from the next room, and I carefully opened the door. In the middle stood an unmade large bed under a blue silk canopy. The playing phone with a glowing screen was lying on the side on the bedside rug. Apparently it accidentally fell. For a few seconds I stood there, stunned, not knowing what to think or do. My heart was pounding in my throat, periodically falling into my stomach. I bent down and picked up the phone. On the glowing screen I saw my face and the signature, "Beloved." There was no doubt, it was Diana's phone. I turned off the receiver and put the phone in my pocket. I raised my eyes and looked at the bed. The thin straps of a pink bra were sticking out from under the pillow. I carefully pulled one and in my hands was my wife's openwork, lace-trimmed bra, the very one from the set that Diana and I had bought a month ago. I put it in the inside pocket of my jacket and quickly returned to the office. A few minutes later, the owner came in, accompanied by a skinny, sad guy. "Let me introduce you, gentlemen." He introduced us to each other. The guest, without hesitation, took out an antique Morocco case and handed it to me. I was afraid of one thing, that my hands would shake. Restraining myself with all my might, I carefully opened the lid and saw a magnificent antique ring with a ruby. For several minutes, I carefully examined it through a magnifying glass, then held it up to the lamp, looked at the hallmarks on the inside of the ring and the play of light in the blood-red stone. There was no doubt, this really was an antique ring, approximately from the mid-19th century, the work of an unknown Russian jeweler. "I want to give a present to my beloved woman," the owner said smugly. I silently wrote the conclusion, gave it to Mezentsev, received the fee and quickly retreated. I couldn't stand being in this house. I wonder if Mezentsev knows that I am the husband of his mistress? I no longer doubted that my Diana was his mistress. God, what an effort it took me to feign calm. How I wanted to punch that well-groomed face. Fortunately, my army skills had not yet been forgotten. I sat in the car for a long time and could not move. So this is whose, or rather, in whose bed Diana had spent the last 6 months. And the mother-in-law diligently covered up her daughter's pranks. For a moment, despair washed over me. Why is she doing this to me? For what? If I could, I would howl. I need to try to pull myself together. Where to go? Okay, I'll go home. Close this topic. I turned on the left turn signal and drove off. After a while, I drove onto the highway and drove towards the obsessively flickering lights of the big city. 3. I have no luck with women, sooner or later they leave me. When I was a child, my mother left me, running away to her lover. Apparently, there was no place for me in her happy future. And now here is my wife. After 11 years of marriage, she decided, it seems, to drastically change her life. To start with a clean slate, so to speak. What is it about me that women do not stay near me for long? My father, after my mother left, never married again. He loved me and was very afraid that my stepmother would not be able to replace my mother. Other people's children are of no use to any woman. And in general, a woman does not owe anything to anyone. It is the man's responsibility to raise and support other people's children. The rule for cuckolds and henpecked husbands: the father is not the one who conceived, but the one who raised. This does not apply to women. So we lived, two men, abandoned by the woman they once loved. And then my dad died, and I moved in with my grandparents. An orphan with a living mother. Women often reproach men for excessive cruelty. Nonsense. On the path to personal happiness, a woman will stop at nothing. She will sweep everything in her path. Everything, including her own children. In cruelty and cunning, women are far superior to men. Diana. What did she lack? Love? Tenderness? Money? Adrenaline? For all 11 years, I never looked at another. Maybe in vain? She perceived my love as weakness, convinced herself that I would not go anywhere from her? Maybe Diana never loved me? It does not seem so. All these years we lived in perfect harmony. I would have felt the falseness. I would have felt it in my heart. Until today, I did not notice any signs of my wife's betrayal. Everything was smooth, as always. This was the circumstance that tore my heart the most. Stupid idiot. Diana had been cheating for almost half a year, selflessly tumbling in someone else's bed, pretending that everything was fine with us. Morning monologues, caring for the children, for me. And all, in the end, a lie. I remember. Then too calm. Maybe later, the full horror of what happened will finally dawn on me. But for now, some kind of stupor. As if it wasn't happening to me, and I was just watching everything from the outside. When I arrived home, Diana wasn't there yet. I went into the kitchen, took an open bottle of cognac out of the cupboard and put it on the table. But I wasn't in a hurry to drink it. I decided to explain myself to my wife sober. Diana showed up after midnight. Yura, I'm sorry. Vika, as always, has problems with her husband. I had to go and console her. I wanted to call, but I lost my phone somewhere. I must have forgotten it at my mom's. Diana chattered as usual, taking off her coat and boots in the hallway. Hi. She kissed me on the cheek. Oh, cognac. Will you pour me some? I'm so exhausted during the day, it's unbelievable. Of course. Not every man can handle it. It's such a burden. Work, children, husband, lover. I silently looked at Diana. I was wondering how she would get out of this situation. Would she admit to cheating or would she play the fool until the end? I'm going to take a shower. My wife almost ran to the bathroom. It was clear that she hadn't been to any Vikas today. It was strange, did her lover really not have a bathroom, and Diana was forced to go without washing herself? Is it some kind of fetish? Or is it better to wash away sins at home? Diana was saying something, but the sound of the water drowned out the words. I didn't give a damn what she was saying. It was important to me what I would say. My wife came into the kitchen in a robe on her naked body and with a towel on her head. Smiling seductively, she poured a little cognac into the glass. For a moment, it even seemed to me that nothing had happened. So, the most ordinary evening of 1,000 similar ones. But it's only for a moment. Diana, sit down, we need to talk. I tried my best to control myself. Have you noticed that conversations about cheating always start the same way? We need to talk. It doesn't matter who initiates it, the husband or the wife. What matters is that the time has come to explain. Diana looked at me in surprise, but left the frying pan alone. Maybe we should postpone it until tomorrow? She said hesitantly, and gave a sideways glance. I realized that she guessed the subject of the conversation and was trying to stall for time. But I was adamant. Diana, do you have someone? What do you mean? My wife made a surprised face. Right, she played the fool. I mean a lover. Do you have a lover? How long have you been cheating on me? I tried my best to speak calmly. A year, 6 months, a month? Yura, what nonsense. What lover, who's cheating? My God, what are you talking about? The wife's indignation seemed to know no bounds. She was an insulted innocence herself. Well done, she takes a punch well, not a single muscle on her face twitched. Diana, don't act funny, I know everything. How much, with whom, and even where? By the way, did you find her phone number? Maybe we should call Mom? The wife was silent, collecting her thoughts. It's very bad to be so absent-minded, I need to check if she forgot anything. I put her phone number on the kitchen table. You could see how Diana's pupils dilated, she covered her mouth with her hand. Where did you get it from? She whispered barely audibly. I found it in Nikolai Andreevich's bedroom. I wonder what you call it? Bunny, baby, Kolenka? Or maybe Kolek? I was openly making fun of her. Yura, you got it all wrong. Yes, I was at his house, but it was for work. I was doing his manicure. Diana was ready to burst into tears. She didn't even ask which Nikolai Andreevich. So she knew perfectly well who we were talking about. In the bedroom, in his bed? I admit it. And did you massage her with your boobs? What boobs? What are you talking about? Diana was already screaming. Apparently, she had already recovered from the surprise. I silently put my bra on the table. That same pink one with lace. Diana fell silent, feverishly thinking up an excuse. I was hot, I changed into a robe, and took off my bra at the same time. Do you know how your breasts sweat, especially in a bra? You men don't understand this. So there was also a striptease? I was already openly laughing. Although it was no laughing matter. Diana shuddered as if she had been hit, apparently realizing that the excuse hadn't worked. Yura, I love only you, I don't need anyone else. I don't know what you were imagining, but I'm telling the truth. We have 2 children, what lover? What betrayal? Diana fell to her knees in front of me. My beloved, my dear. I am not guilty of anything before you. I have only one man, and that's you. Believe me. Diana was already sobbing out loud, not holding back her emotions. She grabbed my hand and began to kiss it. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. And there was so much love and tenderness in her voice. Diana's heartbreaking lamentations, noting to myself that their tone had changed somewhat. The hysterical notes had disappeared from her voice, and it even seemed to me that my wife had begun to calm down. I wonder what this was? Did Diana perceive my silence as a readiness for reconciliation? Or did she feel that she had managed to convince me of her fidelity? It has long been known that women consider men a special kind of upright people, which they closely study, try to feed them and teach them to eat from their hands. The most important thing here is that he doesn't bite off your fingers along with a piece of sugar. Well, I'm being ironic now, but then I sat there as if stunned. The whole meaning of what was happening had only just begun to dawn on me. Diana finally fell silent and silently looked at me through her tears, probably expecting me to throw myself into her arms. Indeed, what else can you expect from an idiot whose wife has been cheating on him for almost 6 months, and he hasn't seen or heard anything? Diana tried to hug me, but I pulled away. Where did you get this ring? I took her right hand. A ring? She looked at me in bewilderment and her gaze darted treacherously. Well, yes, this one, with the ruby. This is what a friend offered to buy, so I took it to try on and wear it, to see if it suits me or... Diana, already realizing that this was the end, was still desperately trying to cling to words, but she was doing a bad job. Okay, enough. I think it's better for you to leave now. Especially since you have somewhere to go. I'll file for divorce myself. We'll decide what to do with the children tomorrow. I stood up. It was time to end this show. Hello, Kolenka. My wife somehow immediately went limp and, still sobbing, went to get dressed. Several times she tried to talk to me, but I kept silent. At the door she turned to me, trying to say something, but I silently closed the door behind her. When you love, you don't need anyone else. At all. No one. And if there is someone else besides the person you love, then that's it. We are together is over.